Hello? Hello? No. Now it is? Okay. All right. We'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's formal meeting of the Salt Lake City Council. We've got a lot on the agenda tonight. You're going to see a lot of different hats. You're going to see the local building authority, you're going to see the RDA, and you're going to see the City Council, and they're never going to change seats. We'll stay here the entire time. So we would like to welcome each of you to our meeting this evening. We appreciate that you've taken time out of your day to attend, participate, and see your local government at work. I would like to highlight that we have business tonight that I discussed with the local building authority, the RDA, which is the Redevelopment Agency Board, and the City Council. I want to make a distinction for the public's understanding and to ensure that we have a clear record. Council members don't just serve on the City Council. When we're elected to also serve as the Redevelopment Agency Board and the local building authority. Think of it as a council wearing three different hats. We're beginning with the business of the local building authority, or LBA. Then we'll move on to the RDA and the RDA business, and then finally to City Council business. To start the meeting, we have laid out some guidelines for decorum and civility to make sure that people feel comfortable and safe to participate when giving public comment. These guidelines apply whether we are acting as the LBA, the RDA, or the City Council. Please be respectful during other people's comments. Avoid cheering during because it could cause someone to feel intimidated. Please also to help take care of this historic meeting room. I understand that you're holding signs out in the back. Be careful of the painting in the back as well as the furniture. It's all historic. This is the only room in this building that's still used for its original purpose. So we're going to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll stand and we'll go over that. Okay, we're moving into the A4, our LBA agenda, the Local Building Authority. We will approve the meeting minutes for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Luke and a second by Councilmember Mendenhall. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that passes unanimously. Our LBA public hearing is regarding a resolution for a budget for the Capital Projects Fund for the Local Building Authority for fiscal year 2018 and 19. I don't have any cards in regards to this. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this? Seeing none, I will look for a motion.
So moved. I move to close the public hearing. And defer action to a future meeting.
Motion's been made by LBA, the board member, Kitchen. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second. Couldn't hear you. Got to speak up. Come on. By board member Fowler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that passes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we adjourn as the local building authority.
Second.
Great. We'll move on then. We're moving on.
Do
We're
we
out
need
of
to
the
vote or
LBA. And,
no? We don't need
oh, I'm
to
sorry.
vote.
We need to vote.
No, do we? I'm not sure. Vote to adjourn.
Should we vote to move into the? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that is unanimous. As the Redevelopment Agency Board, our first item of business is A2. We're going to approve the meeting minutes of Tuesday, May 8th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by board member Johnston and second by board member Kitchen. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. We are on to section B, the public hearings. I'm going to call two names at a time. Rules of decorum still apply. I'll call the first name, second one be at the ready. But I do not have any cards. Is there anyone wishing to speak to any of these public hearings, B1?
Mr. Chair, I move that the board close the public hearing and defer action to a future meeting.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. And that was a motion by board member Kitchen and a second by board member Mendenhall. Great. All right, we have no other business as the Redevelopment Agency Board. Therefore, George wants to speak. George shall speak. You have 2 minutes before we are out of this, George.
Okay,
Wait, do we need
I
to
came
move
to
to
speak
reopen our public hearing?
what was that?
Do we need to move to reopen the public hearing so your comments can be recorded? Yeah, I
Mr.
move
Chair.
that we reopen the public hearing.
I second that.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Mendenhall and Board Member Kitchen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, George, give it to us.
Okay, the 650 North RDA proposal for track station, effectively you're making tracks a milk run. If you want to get more people on mass transit, you can't make a milk run out of tracks. You want more people to go to the airport, you can't put another station at 650 South. In addition, when you're doing that, I mean, you're trying to get more development there, but it makes more sense to spend the money from RDA funds for homeless services. Amy, I know you care about this. You care about a downtown park, but the best way to get development downtown is to get rid of the homeless walking around with all their belongings. And the best way to do that is use RDA funds, which you're authorized to do, to provide storage for the homeless, to provide a low-barrier outside camping site someplace that doesn't bother anybody else, so people don't come in the morning at the courthouse and look at people sleeping on the ground. Literally, that's what happens at the track station. And you put another track station there, they're going to do the same thing. So I'm urging you not to spend money on a 650 North track station. I'm asking you to spend it on homeless services, storage, and a camping site where nobody's going to be worried about them. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, George. We have no other business as the RDA. Yes?
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made by Board Member Mendenhall and a second by Board Member Luke. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are moving on. Well-
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn as the RDA board.
Thank you. A motion's been made by Board Member Mendenhall and second by Board Member Luke. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, everybody, surprise, we're now the Salt Lake City Council. We are now on our agenda for City Council business. Our first item under the council business is item A2. We're looking to approve the minutes for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from April 3rd, 2018 and Tuesday, May 1st, 2018, as well as the minutes from the 15th of May.
Second.
A motion's been made by Councilmember Kitchen and a second by Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. We're on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. We are looking for cards. Here we go. I have one card for public hearings this evening. We're on B1, which is an ordinance for street closure for 13th South between 900 West and the Jordan River. George Chapman. And I don't have any other cards. If there's anyone that would like to speak to this, please raise your hand, and we'll have staff bring a card to you.
Okay, I know you're trying to work out something with Mr. Vu. And I have a problem with the tow yard being right next to a park, the park you're trying to develop with this. The problem is Salt Lake City and Utah and other municipalities in Utah have a problem with eminent domain. There's an adversarial relationship that's caused by eminent domain that's not fair for small businesses like Mr. Vu and many others, actually. You had the same thing happen with the streetcar up by McClelland. A couple of property owners were effectively bullied into giving up their property without just compensation. So I'm asking you to work with the legislature, which has added eminent domain issues to their transportation interim agenda, and work with them on some way to provide either an ombudsman or some way to stop the fight that's been going on for, what, 3 years? That's happening. I know a case in Salt Lake City that's actually gone on for 10 years. 10 years of eminent domain trying to get a piece of property. It doesn't make sense for government, any government entity, to do that. So I'm asking you, the City Council, to work with the legislature to try and find a better way to work the system so a park can be built or a government proposal can be built without going through 10 years of legal fighting. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mr. Chapman. Anyone else wanting to speak in regards to this public hearing B1? Seeing none,
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing, suspend the rules, and adopt.
motion's been made by Councilmember Kitchen and second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes. We're on to item B2, which is airport rezone request. I don't have any cards in regards to this motion, this public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Mr. Chapman? As soon as you're done, we'll have you fill out a card for this. I don't have a card at all. Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you, Amy and the others, for trying to protect golf. We don't have enough green space. We have no green space around the airport. Let's get real. We need some green space, and Wing Point is the green space. We need to keep it open. I'm asking you not to rezone Wing Point. It doesn't make sense, and I urge you again, like Amy mentioned earlier, maintenance is not just maintaining the green, it's watering. And that's the big problem with golf in this city. We overcharge and treat golf courses, we treat cemeteries, we treat parks as a burden, and we shouldn't. Last year, I believe the general authority ordered you to start watering the cemetery because we stopped watering it. Charlie knows what happens when you don't water golf courses. We need to put in a better system than the three-tier system that actually treats parks, golf courses as a burden. That'll be the solution to Wing Point. And I also want to point out, Wing Point didn't have to close. Becker refused to have the help of the Senate. Senator Hatch offered to stop the FAA from closing it. So what happened? Becker said, no, we want to close it. So that's wrong. Wing Point is a green space that should be protected. We shouldn't build a parking lot out of it or any kind of ice clearing maintenance facility, which the airport was originally trying to do. I mean, a park or golf course versus a parking lot, come on. We need more open space. We need to protect Wing Point. Please don't rezone it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Anyone else would like to speak in regards to this? Please, Ms. Colby, come up. And then we'll have you fill out a card.
Jen Colby, District 4 resident. And I wasn't going to speak to this, but I will concur with George that I don't think that the former Wing Point golf course should be paved over. We have so much paving out at the airport already, and we're about to get paved over thanks to the inland port that apparently nobody can figure out how to stop. There's already too much development out there, and this is the wrong way to go. I don't think subsidizing the Wing Point Airport course makes any sense whatsoever. That's water under the bridge. We already poured way too much money into Wing Point. It's fine, it's closed, be done with it, but leave it open space, and please put some money into that bike trail because it's falling apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Colby. Seeing no other interested parties speaking in regards to this, I'll
Mr.
look for a motion.
Chair, I move that the council close this public hearing and defer action on this item to a later date.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall and a second by Councilmember Kitchen. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, could I have a moment of personal privilege
sure.
on this one? I just want to encourage Mr. Chapman and Ms. Colby to chat with us after if you want to, but this rezone will not prohibit it from being a golf course, actually. And it is part of our previous negotiations with the FAA. Thanks.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries. We're on to item B3, which is an ordinance for dining club, social club, alcohol regulations text amendment. And I do not have any cards. Is there anyone that would like to, please?
Hi, Tiffany Price. I just wanted to speak to this thinking it was such a great idea because we've lost the social clubs. We have some places in our neighborhoods. It's really changed the dynamic of Salt Lake City to be able to have small places that can serve alcohol. And once the legislature changed to social club, this was just something I found necessary so that in our neighborhoods you could have small conditional use facilities to make a more well-rounded neighborhood. And it seems like I have particularly properties that have been now zoned community neighborhood. And there's just a lot of interest in having small, usable places for people to have a drink or some food and a drink. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Price. No other comments, and I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and defer action on this item to a future date.
A motion by Councilmember Kitchen and second by Councilmember Mendenhall. Any discussion to this? Oh, was it? I'm sorry. A motion by Councilmember Kitchen and a second by Councilmember Fowler. Any discussion to this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. We're on to A4, which is a budget amendment number 5 for fiscal year 2017 and 18. And I have 2 cards for this. I have Mr. Grant Sibley, followed by Elizabeth Bowman. So, Mr. Grant Sibley, please come forward. Thank you.
First of all, I've not here in Salt Lake City, but elsewhere I've sat on that side, so I want to thank you for what y'all do. It's not an easy job. I'm here as representing Partlow Property Management. The pack in my hand is 25 of our owners that are asking us to vote against this. Actually, 24 plus our property. There's a lot of reasons, but mainly it boils down to we've seen a lot of increases. We've never seen them go away. So within the city, there's 25 votes against at least.
Thank you. Elizabeth Bowman.
Hi, thank you for your time.
And if you could pull the mic towards you, that'd be great.
Sure. I'll put it in the short position here. So I received notice of the proposed water increase the day after the first hearing. Last year, I received notice of the 4%, at least after some of those went through. That's kind of sloppy. This notice, and I'm holding up a postcard that says, Notice of Proposed Water, Wastewater, Sewer, and Stormwater Rate Adjustments for Salt Lake City Residents. Water rate increase of 4% per month. Is that 48% a year? What's it mean? What does that mean, 4% a month? Can I get any information on
Yeah,
that?
this is a public comment, so you can give us you have 2 minutes to give your talks, and then when we're done.
All right, I'll keep going.
Okay.
Sewer, 15% increase. I looked at the 266-page proposed budget. I can't follow the numbers enough to know exactly what this means. Stormwater, 10%. Why, when you look at the notice, it's to include improvements in sewer, water pipe, wastewater treatment plant. Last year, you raised the rates, and I read in the paper, you all look pretty bored up there. Last year, I read the rates, after the rates went through, that it was not used for water and sewer. And that's really upsetting. Water is a public utility. I've already cut out showers. I've limited washing by hand, make sure the dishwasher's full. I have low-flow shower, low-flow toilet. I'm careful on the lawn. It's a utility. There's only so much I can cut. And other people are on fixed incomes. I don't want this to be the city of the 1% and the homeless, but that's what I'm worried about. So I looked, what are some other ways you might be able to obtain funds? One, I've contacted my representative, Mr. Luke. If landlords don't return cleaning fee deposits, I've had to sue over this. They shouldn't be allowed to be in the good landlord program and save all this money on fees. They should be paying everything. The city tells me, oh, it's a toothless ordinance, we can't do anything about it. We shouldn't have to sue. And every landlord should have a registered address in the city. I shouldn't have to publish in the newspaper to be able to sue a landlord who doesn't do what the landlord's supposed to be doing.
Time.
Garbage.
Ms. Bowman, this is a very complicated issue,
I'm
but
sure.
we have staff here, Sam, who is fantastic with this issue, that he will talk to you about this and give you all the details and answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks.
Okay? Great. Any other
Mr. Chair.
question? Yes,
Point of personal privilege.
please.
Ms. Bowman?
Ms. Bowman.
Before you leave, hi. So Sam is also the District 6 staff liaison. So in addition to being able to help on answer your questions about this. He'll also be able to help you with that, so.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to item B4, budget amendment number 5? I have Jolene Taft. Yeah, so we'll have Jolene Taft, and then if you wouldn't mind coming up after Jolene, and then we'll have you fill out a card. You already did? I don't have your card. I did too, about the same water issue. Did you turn it in? Yeah. You filled out a blue card, comment card? Yellow. That's general comments. Yeah, this is B5. On B4. We're on B4. Okay. So these are all B5 that we're going to go on to after that. But if it is in regards to this, let me see here. No, the sewer rate increase is on the next one, or the general comments. So hang on one second. Jolene, go for it.
Oh, I was on the waters. I'm the right one?
This is not for the water yet.
For the water, sewer, or stormwater?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think there's just a little confusion between the budget amendment discussion, which is sort of more limited, and then the annual budget, which is where the public utilities rates are included. So maybe if there's general comment here for the public utilities rates, they could wait till the next item, which is when most of that stuff will be addressed.
Okay. So does anyone want to speak in regards to budget amendment number 5? Okay, I will look for a motion then.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council closes this public hearing and refer budget amendment number 5 for fiscal year 2017-2018 to the June 12th council meeting for action.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Kitchen and a second by Councilmember Mendenhall. Is there any discussion to this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and
Aye.
that motion carries. Okay, here we go. Ms. Taft, how about you come up and let's hear it now about the water rates. This is item B5, which is adopting the city budget for Salt Lake City, Utah for fiscal year 2018 and 19, excluding the budget for the library.
I just want to say that I'm opposed to this because you raised them last year. How many more times you're going to keep raising the water, the sewer, the stormwater? This should have been planned years ago. You should have budgeted this, way back, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And all of a sudden just keep adding, increasing. I mean, you're making it so that Salt Lake City's not going to be very affordable. I mean, I was driving down State Street and I see all the businesses and, empty buildings. So if you can't budget what you have, maybe we should have an auditor come in, an independent auditor, and figure out where we can come up with the money. But, you say, oh, it's only $1.79 more. But if you have a rental unit, that $1.79, no, that's not going to be what it'll be. It'll be actually more. And, you raised them last year, and then you raised it this year, and I'm sure you're going to raise it next year, and then next year, and then the next year. Even if you build the facility, are you going to drop the prices back down? So, I don't know. I think there's other ways to come up with the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Taft. So we have Brandon Felstead, who is going to be speaking in regards to ordinances B5 through B14. These are all in there. So Brandon Felstead, followed by Jen Colby.
Hi, thanks, James and Andrew. I live on Euclid, but I also have a house in your district. I am pretty frustrated by the rate raise. I've got a bill from 2000. I've lived at this house for over 20 years, and it was $15.78. And that's like the minimum bill, something that you guys don't have. And I've got today's bill, which is one unit. It's the absolute least amount of water you can use, and it's $55.97. That's like an increase of that's an increase of 254% in less than 20 years. That's 18 years. That's 14% a year. That's nowhere even close to our national inflation rate. So like, you know, we've constantly, every time I turn around, we have like additional fees added to this bill. You know, drinking water is a human right. We can go without light bulbs. We can go without recycling. We can go without all these other non-necessity things. But to pair them all into one bill where you have to pay them and you can't get around, that's a violation of basic decency is what's going on. And you are starting to price people out that have lived here for 20 years. And, you know, maybe I don't have the incomes of my neighbors that have moved in that have bought in a brand new house, but that doesn't mean that I have to sell my house and move because I can't afford your guys' new ideology and new vision of what Salt Lake City should look like. Secondly, I've actually talked to the Assistant Director of Division of Drinking Waters for Utah Gov, Ying McKay, and she actually lamented about the benefits of this project.
Time?
Well, one thing she did say is that the water quality impact would just be marginal. And because the Jordan River pours into Salt Lake, there would not be any noticeable benefits.
Mr. Felstead, it sounds like you have a lot of other things that you'd like to say. This isn't the only way that you can communicate with the council. There's email, you can call us, there's a bunch of other ways, so please feel free to reach out. Jen Colby, followed by Polly Hart.
Jen Colby, District 4. I changed the subject a little bit here. I quote, Mr. Palermo presented the audit accomplished by his firm. A discussion followed. Mr. Palermo, in closing, said he had not placed in the report how to obtain the money needed to meet the needs of the golf courses. He said he concluded after submitting the report that to continue as an enterprise fund would probably cause the city a problem in the future. He said the city was barely making enough money to cover the minimum essentials. He said there was no extra money for doing things that needed to be done, end quote. This is from the 1995 audit summary, 23 years ago. The Golf Enterprise Fund budget crisis has been building for decades. Lack of action by various administrations and councils, combined with national trends in golf and local overbuilding, have led us here. Enterprise funds are different legal entities from departments and should not be subsidized. But golf has gotten millions since 2014, and the projections are much worse. The status quo is not working. Golf lands are assets and vital spaces for all city residents, not just immediate neighbors, just as our national parks belong to all Americans. I live in the district with the least parkland, and the Jordan River corridor is vital to my well-being. Moreover, recent zip code analysis of golfers at the courses shows 76% of players are from outside of Salt Lake City. Most city players come from the wealthier East Bench. Very few are from the West Side. Golf is also incredibly land inefficient. In human psychology, perceived losses often count more than gains. I sympathize with those who love golf courses as they are, but that doesn't make good public policy. Deferred maintenance backlogs are harming courses and the golf experience. It's time for change. I ask that you keep golf operations under direct city management. Outsourcing won't help the situation, and you'll lose control. Reject the use of capital improvement subsidies to cover operating costs. Raise golf fees to cover operating costs with a surcharge for non-city residents. Audit the secondary water ESCO. What happened there? Start a planning process to convert Rose Park to a general city park after the session with green infrastructure strategies for restoration, and increase funding for all city parks using your tax increase and the upcoming bond. I think Palermo was right. The Golf Enterprise Fund ultimately must be dissolved, and this needs to be integrated into the parks. Then at least extra funds won't be called subsidies. I do have additional comments, and I will send those in. I'll also comment on the water separately. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Colby.
Hello, Polly Hart. And I am here to give a plug for the Parks Department, which is so underfunded year after year. I came with a list of things that I wanted you to focus on, but really there are two major things with the Parks Department. The one-time funding for the homeless cleanup in the parks. This year, the mayor recommended slightly more than half of what the amount was last year. I can tell you, as a park user, that last year they barely had enough money to clean up the homeless camps. So please consider matching what the one-time fund was last year and try to find an annual funding for this. The second is tree maintenance. I'm sure you have heard this over and over again, but the city's trees are in trouble, and we desperately need more maintenance, more water, more fertilizer, more pruning. So I want to urge you to fund the Parks Department, all of their wishes, please. Please and thank you. And I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people here, but we have some of the cheapest water in the country, and I'm okay with paying for water. My house is worth almost the same as my sister's in suburban Chicago, and my real estate taxes are less than a quarter. We get what we pay for, and I'm okay with paying for it. So you guys know how to squeeze out of a dime, and you all do a wonderful job, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Lex Scott, followed by Marshall Bergeron. Lex Scott. At 5 and 14, B5 through 14 are all together.
Okay. We need some diversity up there, right? Still white. We would ask that you not fund 50 more additional police officers unless you show us why we need them. Because they definitely don't reduce crime, Derek and Charlie. I want to say thank you to Jackie for proposing half the amount of police officers. And when you were on the radio kind of bashing her, wondering why she only wanted half, it's because the people asked for it. The people who voted her in and who voted you in and who can vote you right out, okay? We don't want 50 officers brutalizing the homeless and black and brown people. They don't brutalize you because you're white as the fallen snow, but they brutalize us. We don't want them.
This is very intimidating. I also don't want any more police. I don't see any value in it, and I don't believe they represent most of the people that are here. They don't protect our communities, and they don't protect and serve the people. They protect and serve property, and it's essentially how I feel.
Thanks, Marshall. Finn Epperson, I'm sorry, I can't read the last part, man. Sorry, Finn. Just give it to us when you come up here, and then Carly Haldeman. All right, Finn, tell us what your full name is.
Finn Epperson Vollum.
Great.
You know, 50 police officers more than we already have is really unnecessary for Salt Lake City because the people don't want that. The people are out here and they're saying that we do not want more police officers because there is no reason for them. They do not protect people. They do not protect communities. They protect the rights of money, the rights of rich people on the east side who all want the police officers. They do not protect everybody. And it's really disheartening to see that 50 more police officers is on the table. 27 would be better, but really 0 is the best number that we need more of. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Finn. Carly Haldeman, followed by Cecilia Berman.
Hi, City Council. It's probably been a year since I've seen all of you, and three people are dead now that I can name from Salt Lake County Police. Elijah Smith, Patrick Harmon, and now we have DeLorean Pitiabat, who was just shot down in Sugar House. If we had a community board in place to hold these officers accountable, they would be alive here today, or at least their cops would be behind bars. Patrick Harmon, what happened to his murder cop? What happened to him? We have no idea. This is like the perfect crime. I don't understand. Why is he unaccounted for? It's disgusting. I'm hearing people talk about utility rights and rights against the rights for their property and against the landlord. It sounds like there's a lot more funding you could that could be better used towards the people, towards resources, towards mental health resources like DeLorean could have used on that call. Did any of you watch the footage? This keeps me up at night, keeps all of us up at night, should keep you up at night because it's your job. It's your job, you took the job. And we did the hard work for you. We did the hard work. SLC PAC, this would be a civilian review board, an independent body that would have the right to subpoena evidence over cops, investigate cops. They would have the right to charge and indict cops. Where's the accountability? Does anyone else on this board think it's absurd that police are policing themselves? How does that make any sense? What I don't understand, like, I mean, if we want people power, if we want democracy, we should have a say who's walking around with guns. They should know more about the law. They should be more accountable to that law. These are state-paid employees. They should be accountable. 50 more cops? 50 more? They're in front of my house every single day harassing the homeless. I live across from the Odyssey home. They're out there every single day bothering and slamming skinny young women into the streets. I'm so sick of it. And it's only going to get worse. And we have a president that empowers them, and it's your job. It's your job, and if anyone else is shot down by police, that's something you should consider.
Thanks, Ms. Haldeman.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Berman. I just want to implore you to consider all the people here in this room who are brave young people coming up here to speak about issues that are affecting them and probably not affecting you because of racial differences, which are uncomfortable to talk about. But even the assumptions that were made about us potentially hurting these paintings, those kind of assumptions are the things that are dangerous when they're being made by people who have guns and who have power to arrest and harass people on the streets. So I just want you to consider that when you're thinking about employing 50 more police officers, when the money could be spent better training the people you have so that they are not harassing people who are mentally ill, who have been abused, who are already marginalized by society. I know that you don't want to think about this because it doesn't impact you the same way it impacts us. But we're here and we are talking to you, and a lot of us don't want to talk in public and don't want to speak to you, and this is super uncomfortable, and we know that a lot of you don't want to listen to us, but we're here because this is so important to us because it's not just an issue of water or utility bills. This is an issue of life and death for us. So please consider that when you're talking about spending money on 50 more police officers, because it's 50 more people who might kill someone and put that on the news and make Utah look like another state that is just killing people, black and brown people. Do you want to be a state that is good for everybody or just good for white people? Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Wall, followed by Trevor Mortimer.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Little reluctant about getting the notice for May 15th, and I got that on May 17th. So I'm here tonight. On the water rate increase, they mentioned infrastructure. First of all, I want to address that real quick. I put in my own water line to the house. I'm fully responsible for that. That's my cost if anything goes wrong with it. Also, last year, the county came in and paved the road. I had to make the change to the valves to accommodate for that. So that's no expense, and that was one of the excuses was infrastructure. I'm on a fixed income, Social Security, and to me, raising the rates, for me, it is a utility that we have the right to. To me, it's a tax, and it's a tax for growth and making Salt Lake City a sanctuary city status. We should be taking care of the people here first before we try to take care of the rest of the world. The valley is already maximized in growth. We can see that by the air quality. It's horrible. We need to get out of this whole paradigm of growth, and more growth. We need a good quality of life, and we shouldn't sacrifice our quality of life. But we do need to take care of those people that are on a fixed income and on a budget. And by the way, I fill my pitchers with any gray water, and I take them out and feed the plants. I've done everything I can to keep my water bill down. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
You must not think from what I say that I am opposed to slavery. No, the Negro was damned and is to serve his master. That man in that painting right there said that. My name is Trevor Mortimer, and I served in the 19th Special Forces Group right here in Utah. Did you guys know that in the Army, you can't shoot unarmed civilians at all? You can't. You can only return fire when you are fired upon. So why do the police not have to obey the international laws of war? Why can the police do to Dylan Taylor what I could not do to a member of the Taliban with an AK-47 in his hands? You guys want to build a new jail with more cops where you can have Black and Latino inmates work for no money or half a cent an hour? That sounds an awful lot like slavery to me. No, sir, no, ma'am, we do not want any more cops.
Christian Hartzum, followed by Cristobal Villegas.
Christian Hartshorn. I'm here with all these people back here. I just want to say that we need to end, when there's police that are shooting people and they're not being accountable for it, that's occupation. And we need to end occupation at home and occupation abroad. We need to see how our communities are affected by these problems. And I feel like there's a lot of ignorance up here. For example, I live in Sugar House where we don't get as much harassment, but I have friends and I have people I talk to, and they do, and you need to realize that and understand that. I feel like, yeah, like said, there's just a lot of, a lot of privilege up here, and I think you need to step out of yourselves and see that getting more cops, more more jails and prisons isn't a solution. It might be, easier for you guys, but that's not how humans should be treated. Yeah.
Just some light reading. All right. Good evening, Council and Mayor. These past 2 weeks have been difficult for me. Separation of many Black, Brown, Indigenous families at the border, the incarceration of families in detention centers have resulted in children sleeping without their mothers and fathers. The describing of people as animals, people that have given life to me, have been a lot on my mind. How did we get ICE being a rogue agency maximizing the inhumanity instilled in laws and with militarized capabilities? We start with police departments like Salt Lake City Police Department being armed and giving a blank check to do what they wish. Last week, Chief Brown said during the work session, referring to the combining of airport police and Salt Lake City Police Department, a lot of activity, a lot of terrorist attacks, demonstrations, things have occurred at the airport. That's why we need a combination of police departments because of demonstrations. Then, when Councilmember Wharton asked about the militarizing of police, which I applaud him, Chief Brown said, referring to an armored vehicle called an MRAP, most of you haven't seen it, and that's how we like it, in an almost nefarious tone. And now they will like a Bearcat? Also, during that session, it was mentioned that the bike police like the west side a lot less than the east side. Bias much? 30-something cops will be on patrol by late August once they graduate, but y'all still want 27, 50, 5 years from now, another 50, 10 years from now, another 50, because more black, brown, indigenous bodies move into the city? More cops. When will it be enough? Never. Let's be innovative. Let's look at things differently. Look at the situation through the eyes of the marginalized. Want more cops? Raise the required education level. It takes a high school degree to criminalize, yet it takes a bachelor's degree to decriminalize. We need to pay them more, give them cultural competence and training. We must do something than just place bodies with guns on our streets.
Time.
We are mobilizing, and we will shut down the streets if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristobal. Renee Hatton Ward, followed by George Chapman.
Good evening. I'm actually in District 5, and I purchased my home in 1995. And I am here to address the proposed water and sewer stormwater rates. I'm sort of a figures person, so I've done some research, and I admit it's not totally and fully inclusive, but I just wanted to mention some of the facts that I found. The years 2001 to 2006, there was a total of a 55.5 increase in sewer rates. From 2010 to 11, there was a total of 14.5 increase. Includes waste, water, and stormwater. 16 to 17, there was a 16% increase. Fiscal year 17 to 18 was a 35% increase. And your proposal this year will add up to a total of a 29% increase if you were to take all the percentages with water, sewer, and stormwater. If you look closer at your bill, as you all get the bills, these rates are a little bit misleading when you quote them on the card about percentages and dollar amounts, because there's blocks, there's rates, and there's units, and every block rate and unit has a different rate. So it's not just a flat fee that comes across on your bill. This is in addition to a 6% franchise fee, which I understand goes to the general fund. And the general fund is often used as what I would, and no disrespect, use as a slush fund for pet projects or to disperse and fill in budget gaps or shortfalls. And I applaud if any of this money from the franchise fees goes to what they say it will be going to, parks, streets, fire, and police, but I have yet to see that. I have, over the last 20 years, have never seen 5th East from 17th South to 21st South fully paved, made whole, a beautiful road. 21st South from State Street to 13th East, fully paved road. I mean, we're talking about if this is where the money goes.
Time.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention, in addition, my property taxes have gone up 14% in the last 5 years. So money is not just an empty bucket and is always available. This is also on top of a 0.5% sales tax increase that was recently approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In answer to several previous speakers, the best way to discourage crime is more visible cops. In addition, despite some claims, I know all of you are involved in this every day and you care about it. In fact, one of you up there is involved in it every single day, 8 hours a day. You care. I know you care, and the people that are saying you don't care don't understand what you have to go through. The cops on the street are trying to do their job. They are sometimes ordered to do things they don't want to do, like quality of life enforcement. That's happened several times, and it's not their fault. It's the fault of the elected leaders, and that's who the speakers should be talking to. I don't believe we're going to get to 50 cops. You've heard over the last couple of weeks from the chief that he can't get them. He has more bicycles than cops. He wants more cops. He wants more personnel. He's not getting them because you don't pay him enough. You have a $2 million tax increase going for cops, but $2 million other funding is also going to something else besides salaries. I think you're going to have to increase the cop salaries if you really want to hire more cops. You're losing 2 or 3 a month, And recently, you had interviews for 20 cops, only 3 showed up. 3. And you're going to get 12 in the next academy class, and you're losing 2 to 3 a month. You're not going to have any extra cops. You won't make it. So you're going to have to increase salaries somehow or another. You're increasing 401k contribution 6%, but UPD is increasing at 16%. There are other issues you need to put in the budget. You need to budget realistically for water. You also need cop cams. Aaron, you care about trafficking, but prostitution goes on every day, all the time in your area, and the best way to discourage it is more cop cams. We only have 1 operating cop cam.
Time.
We need more. Also restrooms. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mr. Chapman. Madison Singer, followed by Michelle Singer.
I'm a 14-year-old that has to suffer every day by looking out to the streets and not seeing a cop there. I have to look through a window and wonder who's the enemy, the homeless or the officers. I'm sick and tired of only seeing an officer standing outside my window, wandering around doing nothing about it. Crimes go on every day, and each day there's another cop who's there to do something about it but never does. So I wonder sometimes if even these cops even do anything besides beating on everyone. Because I have to wonder every day if I have to tell my sisters if the cops are the enemies or the strangers in the streets.
Hello. I am a 13-year-old at Bryant Middle School, and I see lots of people that are mistreated just by either the way their skin or their color or just by the way they look. I have to look outside of my house too. Me and her, Madison, are sisters. I have to protect my sisters, and I wonder if either the cops or the homeless are the real enemies. But mostly I think the police are the enemies because I see people just that look like they cause trouble either get beaten, be made fun of, or killed. And I think that's a lot of bullcrap. I really don't want to see 50 more cops on the streets just because you guys think it's right. It's really not, because people are forced to either be scared of cops or they just love cops because apparently that's what they do for their jobs. People getting bullied by cops isn't right, because that's just proving that the world isn't going to change, and that we need more change in the world. So, yeah.
Thank you. Merle French, followed by Nancy Carlson-Gotts.
Hi, thank you for what you do. Just here to object to the 29% overall increase in our public utilities bills. I'm speaking for the people on my street as well, many of whom are on fixed incomes. Not to mention most people's salaries or income in Salt Lake City have not increased according to our cost of living. I want to know where the transparency is on the bids for these so-called projects. The city has unsustainable growth. We live in a desert. What path are we on? Where's my money really going? I think 29% increase after our raise in property tax and the city's sales tax. It's like, how much more money are you going to extract from people with fixed incomes? Thank you.
I'm Nancy Carlson-Gotts. I'm a resident of Mill Creek. And I've got the notice as well of a proposed, to Salt Lake County residents, proposal in a rate increase in my water. And I guess I had a couple of things. I'm also, well, first let me say I'm so proud of these young people coming here and talk, because I saw a YouTube video today of a man being beaten. It's disgusting. So I empathize with him. But to continue on my topic, I'm also on a fixed income. I understand the need for infrastructure and fixing and repairing the water. But what I would like to see is more transparency and how that money is being spent. Unfortunately, the legislation didn't pass where they tried to ask that we could be more transparent in how the money's being spent. And being in Mill Creek, I understand I pay more because I'm not in Salt Lake City proper, so I'm a contract city, whatever you want to call it. So I pay more additionally anyway. And what I'd like to know is, I'd like to find out how that money's being spent, how I can see if you're going to be repairing the pipes, the system, the infrastructure. I'd like to be able to find out what that is. How do I get that information? So I think that's all I have. So thank you. And I'd be curious if you can direct me to somebody that can tell me that information. I'd appreciate it.
For
Okay,
sure.
thanks.
I'm looking over at staff again. There he is. He's going to come help you and answer all your questions that you might have. Carlos Martinez, followed by Antonio Fierro.
So my name is Carlos Martinez, and as a concerned citizen and a person of color that has grown up most of his life on the west side, where a majority of all the other people of color live, I just wanted to say that when we're thinking about police, adding police, we need to look at the culture we're living in. We're living in a violent culture where we look at the solutions in violent terms. Having more police officers is vindicative of our larger culture that is just looking for easy answers to one day the homeless and everybody you don't want to look at is there, the next day they're not, but they're filling up our prisons, and we're paying a lot of money to have them live over there just because we don't want to deal with real issues like mental health and drug rehab centers. Why aren't there any drug rehab centers or mental health centers on the west side in Rose Park and in Glendale? These are the type of things we need to be looking at when we're talking about reducing crime and trying to and mitigate crime in our growing city. And as somebody who's also a college student, I know of a lot of parties and a lot of drug use that goes on the east side. And there's never cops when we're doing that, right? Because I go to college, I know what it's like up there on the east side, hang out with the east side boys. They get just as crazy as us on the west side, okay? But they're not getting patrolled like we are on the west side here. This is an issue, and we need to not look for more cops as the solution. We need to look at more innovative solutions to help and empower our community, which would be looking as drug rehab centers and mental health facilities for our people that need it so desperately. Thank you.
Yep. After Mr. Fierro, it's Shirley Reyes.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Antonio Fierro, represent the Rose Park Brown Berets. And, we don't need more cops on the streets, as you guys could see from our youth. You know what I mean? They're from Rose Park as well, and just last week, there's a guy just got harassed by the police, just outside of Rancho Market. You know what I mean? It looked like it was a stop and frisk that was going on. And when I went over there, the cops just started cussing me out and stuff. You know what I mean? I've been called wetback. I've been called a spick, as a child, and it's easy just to add more police. That's just a Band-Aid. You guys gotta go to the core. The reason why people are committing crimes is because we have less access to resources. We don't have mental health facilities, rehabs. I could walk through the east side. I see a lot, like every corner. I see Odyssey houses, and the police, they be the true gangsters of the streets. You see Elijah Smith, recently passed away. You know what I mean? When police become brutal and be harassing people, they're no longer police. They're an authorized gang. So they should be held accountable. And we don't need more police on the west side. The west side, the people of color make the majority. How come they're not patrolling on the east side, where people over there are doing drugs just as much as people on the west side? But why? Because they're white, right? Rose Park and Glendale, West Valley, there's Latinos, blacks, indigenous, Polynesians. And this whole system just built on racism. And just adding more cops is not the solution. You got to go to the core of the problem. Thank you.
Hey, y'all doing? My name is Shirley Reyes, and I'm here to talk about the police as well. More does not equal better, especially when the city can't even get a handle on the cops that are already out there. I don't know if any of you live on the west side or even take a second to listen to the cops, but the things that they say and do is repulsive. And the only time that y'all get to see it is recording, like on videos on YouTube. But this stuff is happening every day. And you're probably also wondering or thinking that a lot of the things that we're saying is probably exaggerated or untrue, but you gotta listen up and you gotta believe it, because it is true. And you'll never understand because of the color of your skin or your socioeconomic standing. So it's your duty to believe us and to stand by us. And you gotta do something better for all of the people rather than just the privileged people. And instead of looking down, sometimes that I see y'all doing, look at the kids in their eyes and believe what they're saying too. They deserve the same amount of respect that you give an adult as well. And same thing for the east side versus west side. I live on the east side, and I come down on the west side, and I can see the stark difference between the two sides. It's there. And I hate to say it, but there are dealers up on the east side that are even like, they're displaying the amount of power they have on the cops that kind of are friendly with them and saying, I'm safe because I am here. I'm making money up here. Me and the cops, we're okay. It's all true. So take a deeper look at what's going on before you start adding more cops. Thank you.
Jacob Jensen, followed by Adam Guyman. And after Adam, I only have one more card in regards to items B5 through B14.
Thanks for taking public comment on this. We've probably all heard or seen a sign that says ban the police. The first time I saw that, I kind of scoffed and laughed. And, you know, I think that it definitely needs to undergo some PR sort of revolvement because it seems absurd on its face. But let me shed a little bit of light, perhaps, or a perspective on that, which is the idea is that not we're going to let crime go on or whatever like that. What we need to do is not get crisis counseling, not get more police training. What we need to do is prevent the crime from happening in the first place. And I think everybody can agree with that. What we could do is we could take this money and then pay it forward to our future towards a possibility where banning the police or really just making it so the police aren't even really that necessary to a large degree, right? Not like in every way, let's not be obscene or silly about it. But that's what we need to do. We need to take this money because the more cops aren't going to prevent more crime. Operation Rio Grande has proven that, although you can put water on an oil fire. But what we should do is we should pay it forward, not towards crisis, before the crisis happens. We need more schooling. We need more housing. We need that money to go towards programs. We need to pay it forward to the future and make it the future that we want, not some weird dystopian RoboCop future. Thanks.
My name's Adam Guyman, and I've noticed it's not just only black and brown people. There are people, no matter what their skin color is, that are disabled, that cops are not, they are not trained. They don't have medical degrees. They have killing degrees. And I do not trust the police whatsoever. And if I have to choose whether I'm going to call 911 for myself, if the paramedics or fire department come, that's fine, but if I know that the police are going to come, I'm not willing to call 911 because I know I'm already dead. And basically, I know one thing too is you guys have this 2-minute thing, and there are people with disabilities that don't always have the ability of speaking what they want within 2 minutes. And the way that you have everything out here in the hall, there's no one out there to help people fill out information or even let people know what's on the docket because not everyone has full access. And there's a lot of improvement that the city needs to make. Plus, people that have been killed by police, you know, death by cop is not death by dignity. And Mayor Biskupski, after the last meeting, said to me when I asked her, do you believe in the Death by Dignity Act? And she said, yes, she does, but if she did believe in the Death by Dignity Act, there's two things that are part of that. One, the person has to be terminally ill, and two, they have to have been signed off by two doctors, two medical doctors, and the person that was shot by police in Sugar House never had that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Guyman. We are on to the last card. It's Oscar Ross Jr. General comments is coming up next.
I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you again. I'd like to make a statement on the rebuilding process you got here. It's very beautiful. But also we need to talk about these cops. I have been affected by them for quite some time. I've been coming here 10 years, January. I will be here for the anniversary date of 1/11. But I also like to say that I don't know if you guys are just not understanding what's going on. This is a national problem. This is not just here in Salt Lake City. What we do have, the Epic Center here, the smoking gun, the mushroom cloud, or however you want to say it, we have victimhood in this city, and it's not getting any better. I think we need to take a close look at what has been done and maybe pass some legislation that can make this go away. I feel that the people that has spoke here, it was about the victimhood of us black males, not only the black males, but the Chicano males that have been affected by this police brutality in this city. I think that you really need to give it a scrutiny so we can curtail it and be a better city. Because right now, Salt Lake City is known as a racist city. And you need to understand that each one of you sitting behind there, because they have two killings here and the media has not focused on that. You go to Baltimore, they're still talking about Freddie Gray. You go to St. Louis, they're still talking about Mike Brown. And we don't have any echoes of this from the system, from the medium talking about our killing of policemen. I mean, the policemen killing our citizens in this community. I think really we should, make an issue that we're going to stop it. And thank you very much. We'll see you at a later date, huh?
Thank you. That is the last card I have for items B5 through B14, and this concludes the public hearings for the mayor's recommended budget for Salt Lake City, including the library fund for fiscal year 2018 and 19. All ordinances will be heard as one public hearing that we've done May 15th, June 5th, and we're looking for a motion to hear them for June 12th as well.
Mr. Chair, I would move
Sorry, go ahead.
that the council continue public hearing items B5 through B14 to June 12th.
Second.
A motion's been made by Councilmember Fowler and a second by Councilmember Wharton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries. We're on to, we don't have any potential items, action items on C. We're on to comments, item D. Questions to the mayor from the city council. She is not here this evening, but we have the chief of staff, Mr. Patrick Leary. Are there any questions for Mr. Patrick Leary, council members? Thanks for being here, Patrick. It's always appreciated. Comments to the city council. Same thing. Don't jeer, don't cheer, be respectful. I'll call two names forward, and then you'll have 2 minutes to comment and give us your opinions. The first comment card I have this evening is John Seaman, followed by George Chapman.
Thank you. This should have gone on to the last group because I'm here to talk about the water. Just my first time here, and thank you. Appreciate the open forum. I am also a resident of Mill Creek, and Mill Creek gets its water. Of course, it used to be the county, and I've lived in the county there, just out over the city, south of the Brickyard area for about 30 years. And of course, the bills have gone up. We expect that, but we don't notice that there are improvements in the delivery of water. But really, my argument is about green space. Urban forest, urban beautification. And George Chapman, in one of his earlier discussions, talked about policies of the city, or any policy, treats green space as a waste or a burden, especially when it comes to water. Well, if you compare the number of acreage of a park or a golf course to the rest of the urban forest, you'll find that the urban forest is much greater. And I think that the policy of the city to increase the rates of water incrementally so that it discourages our urban environment, our urban green space, is folly. Green space cools our homes, so we use less electricity. It beautifies the neighborhood, and it creates a better place to live. As you increase this water, I'm paying right now about $350 a month for July, August, a little bit less in June and September. I'm on
Time.
1/5 of an acre. So I'm just saying it's very expensive.
Okay, let's re-emphasize cop cams. Because if you want to stop human trafficking, Aaron, you need to catch the pimps. And the only way to catch the pimps are with cop cams. Because they're not going to be around when cops are around. Please fund more cop cams in the budget. Please fund more water for open space so we don't go through like last year where you cried over the wilting gardens of Salt Lake City. We also need more restrooms in the canyon. If we really care about the watershed, boy, do we need more restrooms also on the trails, like you talked about today. Amy, you went through the CIP funding list last night, but you may have noticed that there's no discussion items or no community support on a lot of the items on the CIP list, and that's wrong. For instance, in Aaron's area, the 17th South reconfiguration road diet doesn't have community support because there isn't any community support for that. It's a good discussion to have, it's a good study to have, but why fund it now before the Community Council has had a chance to look at it thoroughly? And the same with the 11th East Post Office in and out in Sugar House. That doesn't have any community support either. Why are we providing these projects without going to the community councils and saying, do we want this? Do you want this? So I'm asking you to go to the community councils before you fund CIP that's coming up in the next few months. You still need RDA storage, and I still think you need to go to the community councils for discussion on what routes do you really want to increase with the sales tax increase. If it's going to take 5 years, nobody's going to really be looking forward to that. But if you say 1 or 2 of these routes are going to go 1 or 2 hours later at night, they are going to look at that and thank you for it. So consider that. Thanks for listening.
Scott Shirtliff, followed by Angela Moore. Is Mr. Shirtliff here? Scott Shirtliff? How about Angela Moore? Great. Angela Moore, followed by my last card, Adam Guyman. Guyma.
I'm back here to say don't allocate $6 million to fund hiring more officers.
Hiring more cops does not lead to less crime. What does cause less crime is community resources. When people have hope for a future, job opportunities, affordable housing, reasonable living conditions, that's when we see a decrease in crime. We need to fund education, drug treatment centers, mental health resources. What we don't need to do is throw more money at a system built to enforce white supremacy. Officers are taught to profile. They profile people of color and poor people. They profile marginalized groups. They add to the problem. And you may say they protect our communities, keep potential victims safer, but I've been the victim of violent crimes before. One time, I called the cops because after attacking me in my own home, my stalker said he was going to my girlfriend's house next, so I was desperate. You know what the officer asked when they came to my house after this attack? They asked if he was Mexican. They wasted precious time following their racist training while more people were in danger. This confirmed what I already knew. Cops are not here to protect us. They came from slave catchers, and they stay true to their roots. Cops are taught to choose who to kill based on race and class. We can't call them when we're in danger. The next time a white man attacks me, the system is going to continue to target people of color. They are not protectors of the people, they are killers of the marginalized. So please, fund resources that give the people hope, that lift us up, give us all opportunity. Funding more cops is not the answer. More fear and oppression is not the answer.
I will say one thing is, when I left Pride the other day on Sunday, someone said, black lives and disabled lives don't matter. All lives matter. Well, if all lives mattered, then there wouldn't be any killings from cops, because it would be the same amount of people that were killed, whether it's, and at the same time, this issue continues to be put on the back burner every time. There's been quite a few meetings, and you guys continue to not even, you say, okay, well, we'll just put this on, we'll just talk about it the next meeting. You guys aren't able to actually make a decision and say, okay, you know what, the people spoke, and this needs to not be put on the back burner anymore.
Mr. Guyman was my last card for the comments to the City Council. Is there anyone else that would wish to speak this evening that hasn't? Please, and then afterwards we'll have you fill out a comment card. Cristobal.
Cristobal Villegas. I think it's interesting regarding this month being Pride Month as well. That we're going to be Pride, LGBT. It was the movement was started by 2 black transgendered women in the face of police brutality, of police violence, right? And now, being one of the most gayest cities in the nation, which is something I love. It's at the same time we're going to get 27 more cops or 50 more cops. So when we juxtapose these two things again, it's like, my goodness, we're doing something that a long time ago, many people who were queer like myself, we stood up against. Look at the state violence and say no more. But because of the shift of power and shift of people and the shift of divisions and populations, we feel like it's okay. I know a lot of you do really great things. I do follow lots of you, and I do appreciate. But the public perception is that the city council with the mayor's office aren't paying enough attention to the grievances of people. I seriously teared up when I heard those 2 youth indigenous people sharing their stories about looking outside a window. I don't know about you, but it touched me, and I can't stand anymore. And I really do hope, because if not, we're going to have to get a lot more people to run for office in a few years. And I really don't want to. I really do appreciate you all. So thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Newland. Is it Paul? Dave, sorry. That was way off, Dave. I'm sorry. I can't read tonight either.
It's all right. So I think we need to stop engaging in magical thinking on this police issue. And it is magical thinking to pretend that police stop crime or prevent crime. I believe in evidence. I don't believe in myths. And let's be clear, it's a myth that police prevent crime or stop crime. And more especially, it's a white myth. It's a white myth that comes from the racist history of policing. If you look at the statistics, there's an exact correlation, a concomitant relationship between an increase in income, an increase in living standards, and a decrease in crime. There's zero correlation between an increase in police officers and a decrease in crime. In fact, depending on how you count the statistics, there's an increase in crime when you hire new police officers, precisely because they're arresting more people. Not because more crimes are being committed, there's just more cops to arrest and harass people for minor crimes and for behaviors that we have decided are criminal without any evidence whatsoever. So what I say is, let's stop engaging in this magical thinking, this myth-making. It isn't true. Let's look at the evidence. Let's look at the reality. More police does not equal more safety. What equals more safety is programs for jobs, increasing our living standards, increasing our access to healthcare and our access to other resources. That's what's going to help. I'm going to yield the rest of my time to Patrick Harmon and to DeLorean Pickett, who aren't here to speak for themselves. So I'll just stand silently until this thing beeps.
The last comment card I have this evening is from Mr. Brandon Felstead.
As a West Side resident, I just would like to comment that since the Rio Grande operation's gone down, someone who lives near 2nd South, I do feel much safer, and I do feel much more secure in the area. And I am actually thankful for not finding as many heroin needles all over the ground. And I'm thankful for not having as many people break into my neighborhood, break into my windows, steal stuff out of my cars. And, but there's still like other things that need to happen. We have a problem hotel on North Temple that causes a lot of problems. And I think like a targeted, like Rio Grande is actually, ask a local person that lives nearby. They are thankful for what's happened. And, but that's not to say the excessive force of the police. I mean, there's a lot of things that the BLM movement actually has going for them. There is a lot of excessive force, and I mean, I do have some sympathies, but as far as the Rio Grande, I feel like we've gone back 20 years, like we're actually safe to go out. Like I actually go down the Jordan Parkway, and I walk down, and I feel fine walking down it. Of course, I'm a big guy, but I feel fine walking down it at 10 o'clock at night, and I wouldn't have been able to say that, 3 or 4 years ago. Not at all, no way. And that's just my comment.
Thank you. I don't have any other comment cards. Here we go. Is there anyone that hasn't spoken this evening that would like to speak? Okay, seeing on, we are moving on from comments. We don't have any new business this evening, but we do have one item of unfinished business, which is Tax and Revenue Anticipation Notes Series for 2018. I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move that the council adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than $25 million in tax and revenue anticipation notes, delegating authority to certain officials and officers of the city to approve the final terms and provisions, and providing for related matters. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Johnston and second by Councilmember Kitchen. Is there anyone that would like to speak in regards to this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that passes. We are on to item G, the consent agenda.
I move for approval.
Motion by Councilmember Kitchen, second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and the consent agenda is approved. And that is all for tonight's formal meeting. We appreciate you all coming out. Just a moment of personal privilege. I just want to say all the comments that are spoken here this evening, we take them seriously. whether they're brief or long or whatever they might be. It is a serious thing for all of us here, and I want you all to understand that. We don't take it lightly. So thank you for coming.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
could just say, I think you all remember this, but for the public's sake, we didn't have time to finish our work session meeting. I think there's a few more points we need to wrap up tonight, so we're going to head back across the hall to our room directly that way and finish our work session.
Don't turn off your TVs.
Don't touch that dial.